All good. So okay, so it's set. I'm gonna let the Bears of Canada know tomorrow that that's when it is, and then it's done. And I know they will be happy because it's right before exams, and then none of them have to worry about travel or hanging around later on. Yeah.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customized. Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.
Stronger agronomics, better returns, greater peace of mind from pre-seed to post-harvest. You can count on the Victory Canola program to keep you and your farm ahead of the curve. Grow with us at victorycanola.com.
Here's another look at that beautiful rock from Kyla. Setting things up really nicely. They're close to the win with that one. Now in the last end of the game, Team Clybrink has a draw to the button for the win.
Hold on, the guys that didn't play, I just made a call. They made me way more cash than you guys ever will.
If you want to destroy the sports books, come join the #1 sports investing community on the planet at inplaylive.com.
that you, Matt?
Yep, that's me. Can you hear me?
Martin O is there.
Just to check, can you hear me okay? Yep, that's me. Can you hear me? Hey Josh, how's it going? Just to check, can you hear me okay?
The reason we trust Western Sales with our business is the people. I'm sure that there's 100 years experience coming out of that shop. We trust them because we do a CMI on our combine and on our tractor. When our equipment comes out of Western Sales, it's going to be good, because if it's not, they send us another combine, they send us another tractor. And we're not naive to the fact that that probably costs them a lot of money. So we just know that the service that we're getting at Western Sales is above par to everybody else.
Hey, so dude, I'm just building out my parlay for Sunday. I'm all over the Bucks. And then we got the Panthers, the Bills, and the 49ers, all locks. But it only pays plus 229. So I'm thinking I might need to beef up that number just a little bit. Hold on, the Rams are playing on Sunday.
So, brother.
Hey, so dude, I'm just building out my parlay for Sunday. I'm all over the Bucks. And then we got the Panthers, the Bills, and the 49ers, all locks. But it only pays plus 229. So I'm thinking I might need to beef up that number just a little bit. Hold on, the Rams are playing on Sunday Night Football. No chance they're losing.
Oh my god, dude, you said the same thing last week and you keep losing. Don't be this clown betting on NFL parlays this season. The way the Sunday schedule is set up is that you make a parlay for the early games, you miss, and you start chasing in the afternoon games, and then the night game hits and you unload your bankroll trying to play catch up. If you're interested in making smarter decisions on the NFL this season, I'm putting on some free training right now where I give away my top 5 secrets on how to profit on live sports investing.
Sometimes curling just isn't as fun as it can be on the Nintendo Switch. With up to 4 players per console, you can enjoy curling with your friends and family anywhere, anytime. Let's play curling. Available now only on Nintendo Switch.
Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We're at the Saville Shootout women's final, Team Jones versus Team Nedohin. Team Homan skipped by Team Heather Nedohin, and Team Jones being skipped by Chelsea Carey. I'm Josh Drews, joined by Matt Hall, and we'll be commentating for this game.
Hey Josh, how's it going?
Not too bad, just enjoying the day, watching some curling.
Yeah, should have a great final here. 2 teams with some super skip spares coming in. Should be a great game.
Absolutely. It's gonna be a great match. There are some great shots made in the first end. Heather Nedohin making a run back and then drawing the lid to score a single.
Yeah, a couple big misses out of the Homan team that last end. I saw a flash at some point while we were just getting our sound all set up. So hopefully they've figured it out. I was actually playing on this ice last week in an event. Can be a little tricky to get a handle of, but they're in the final here, so they should have a good idea of what it's doing. And once you figure it out, it is some great ice to play on. So should see some great shots made here.
Absolutely, and that's something that we're going to look forward to. Not having their skips, though, still going to have some communication stuff coming on with Tracy coming down to the other end.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 6 or 7 games isn't a lot of time to get used to a new head in the rings, so I'm sure you'll see a little bit of that. Heather, of course, well accomplished in her own right, though, so shouldn't really be any concerns about her shot calling abilities, but maybe just figuring out exactly getting everyone on the same page is the biggest thing.
Absolutely, just the little nuances here and there, just slight differences from team to team.
And of course, on the other side, Chelsea Carey, no slouch herself, two-time Scotties champion, and with still a pretty young team in front of her, but well experienced, losing the Scotties final last year. So should be some great shots made on both sides here. A chance to split the rings early here, sit 2.
Yeah, I'm interested to see this Team Jones rink as the year goes on, with them probably being a little more established in their positions throughout the year. Because last year they were running the pretty firm 5-person rotation.
Yeah, and if I believe, if I remember correctly, one of the Zacharias sisters has fully stepped back this year, so I think they're just back to a normal 4-man crew, and that might help them,
Yeah,
get a little bit more of a, standard base to work off of and not have to worry about who's playing what game, but I think they'll figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah, Mackenzie stepped back, Emily's older sister.
On the other side of the rink in the men's final, we have Brendan Botcher facing off against Caitlin Schneider. The men were a little bit behind today, so I think they're just finishing up their pre-game practices, and they're going to get going in a minute here. But we'll keep you updated on what's going on the other side of the rink throughout the day. You can also check out that stream on the Curling Zone YouTube channel as well.
Chelsea looking to just keep the rings split here early on, and maybe get that early deuce that they're looking for. Keep them spread out.
Yeah, and these rocks are very lively from what I experienced here last week. Doesn't take a big miss to set up a possible double. This one might be slipping a little bit deep.
And do you know which rocks these are? Are these the Curling Canada ones, or are these the club ones?
I believe they're the club ones, but from what I understand, they're fairly new. They're not all that old, so the striking bands are still pretty lively. They also scratched up the rocks just before the events a couple weeks ago. There's actually been about 3 weeks in a row of events here at the Saville Centre, if I remember correctly. So they've had lots of use. The ice makers are great at this club, so they're going to do a really good job. It looks like that rock might have just slipped out the back, so possibly going towards a blank here in the second.
These rocks really are finishing. I was watching the end of the Schneider-McEwen game, and a couple of the rocks were taken off on them there as well.
Yeah, you'll get a really nice 4 feet of curl with a nice little setback in the release. They'll track for you for a little bit, but all the motion is late, as you said. Once you're getting to the hog line, it'll look like it's still side 8, and it'll finish 2 or 3 feet. So lots of opportunity to get rocks buried, get some angles set up, and hopefully see lots of points scored.
Yeah, it's like we're getting that arena ice feel in the curling club, which is great. That's really saying a lot to the ice makers here.
Yeah, and of course the Saville Sports Centre has always been a very popular destination here out in the western, either unofficially or officially, I'm not sure, but it is one of the national training centers for Curling Canada, so they've had a lot of big teams out here already through the summer training and through early August getting some reps in. So these guys have been on the ice for a while, and the ice makers here are incredible. So should be in for quite a treat today. Bit of a switch here with Team Jones just slipping back. It'll now be Tracy Fleury's turn to try and split the rings here, try to get a force.
And well executed.
Interesting call by Chelsea on the shot before. You know, it's nice when you see Rachel's team slip behind the tee line, and that force is always, or the freeze, excuse me, is in your head, but wouldn't have been surprised at all just to see her hit and continue on towards trying to get a blank out of it. But now they're kind of in it. Now I don't think they have a choice. They kind of have to make a freeze somewhere.
Yeah, you're almost going to be forced to your one right now without some sort of a miss. Carly Burgess looking to lay the freeze down here.
Carly, a very successful curler coming up through the ranks. I believe 4-time world junior champion. She definitely competed in 4 and won most of them.
Yeah.
And of course, has already made that break through joining Jennifer Jones and
Looks like
must
they
have been a
burned
burnt
the
rock.
Looked like Emily slipped a little or something on the just after the hog line there.
Oh yeah, just watching the replay there, you can just see the rock move a little bit for sure. And that sometimes happens, especially on ice early in the season, August, September. It's still very warm outside. The humidity can kind of do a number on the ice makers. And sometimes when the ice is pretty green, still early in the season, it can get a little slippery. So you definitely see that from time to time. But still, you're still not too upset, I think, if you're Chelsea Carey. You still got lots of room to score your single. But Heather's going to try and put a rock in her way, probably draw top 12 here, and just make the draw for one a little bit tougher.
Yeah, top 12. You could maybe see Chelsea try and go behind that, or try to play a hit and roll of some sort there as well.
Yeah, I think if you're Heather, you're probably thinking about maybe slipping a little deep's okay. I think if you end up coming up light and throwing a guard, Chelsea will just ignore everything and sink one around it. But if you put it top 4, she kind of has to deal with it, and you've got your force at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely. You're saying bite the 8-foot is probably minimum. Full 8 is probably where I think she would be aiming.
Yeah, exactly. And the men's final is just getting underway. Team Botcher starting with the hammer over there.
Well placed.
Well placed, but I think
Well,
Chelsea's
I
going
kind
to
of
take
see that 90-degree angle there.
Yeah, it's pretty close. I think Chelsea's going to take a good look at here if there is a triple. Worst case scenario, it's worth taking on even if you think it might not quite be there. If you at least make a double, you might have something with your last one if you ever get a roll out. Even if you miss, you should have an open shot for one on your last.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we love seeing the engagement from everyone in the chat. I'll be following along. I have it up here on my other monitor. So if there's ever any questions during the game, feel free to drop them in there. We'll try to answer them as best we can.
Yeah, I was just about to pull that up on my other device as well.
Always love pulling up these games and just watching the chat for a little bit. Got fans from all over the world, it looks like, most times.
Just a little thick on the, we'll call it the triple attempt, and just rolled out.
Second chance here from Heather to put this rock in a good spot. These are actually, it looks like it might be sort of a no-brainer, but these are really important shots early in the game. When you have this quote unquote free opportunity to throw a draw and get your draw weight underneath you, that could pay dividends if she ever has to make something a bit tougher come an end or two from now.
Yeah, always important as to go to school on every opportunity that you can.
I'll just leave a nose hit here for Chelsea, so they got easy opportunity here to score their one, but can't let your mind wander too much. So those 2 yellows on the side do spell trouble if you're a little off, so just hit this on the nose, take your one, and move on to the third end tied.
Pretty good.
Yep, gets her right on the nose, scores her single point. We're gonna have a tie game here after 2 ends. 1-1. Team Homan, skipped by Heather Nedohin, is gonna have the hammer when we come back in the third end.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.
I've been raised on the farm since day one, so I was born into it. My grandfather came in here in 1905. I want to continue the farm for him and generations to come. So
I think it's a privilege that we get to be here. It's just a wonderful way of life.
You know, what job is there that you can go to work with your dad and brother, with your kids by your side? Doesn't get much better than that.
Back in action here in the third end. Lauren Lenneheim looking for the come around to the center guard.
Might see a couple more rocks in play as we move on here and teams get a little bit more used to the ice surface and see what it's doing here. This would be, of course, all week they pretty much had all 10 sheets rocking every draw, so going into this final where there's only 2 sheets in play, the ice might be a little bit different than it was.
Matt, you want to introduce yourself a bit to the people listening at home?
Yeah,
what team
for
do you
sure.
play for?
Yeah, my name is Matt Hall. I play for Team Kleider out of Saskatoon. I actually am originally from Ontario, just moved to Saskatoon a number of weeks ago, so that was a nice long drive for me, about 30 hours to cross country to get out here. But getting settled in now, enjoying the new team. We have a pretty big season this year, about 9 or 10 events before the Christmas break. So we're pretty busy, but enjoying being out here, enjoying the West. The guys like to dig into me a little bit that I'm the new guy out here, but I've been enjoying it. It's been great.
Excellent. That's quite the nice drive across Ontario as well.
Yeah, I've never really done it before. It took about, I'd say, 18 hours to get out of Ontario, and then you feel like you're flying through Manitoba and Saskatchewan, but eventually made it out here.
Yeah, definitely a big speed change on the highways as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Done that drive a few times myself. My name is Josh Drews, originally from Lundar, Manitoba. Played in Winnipeg a lot of my life on the Manitoba Tour with Team Tyler Drews. My wife and I moved to New Hampshire in 2016, so now I'm a member of the Merrimack Valley Curling Club and the Broomstones Curling Club in Wayland, Massachusetts. Follow curling all my life, watch curling all the time, and just happy to be a part of this and enjoy doing this.
Can't say I've ever been down to the Broomstones before, but I've heard good things. Here it's a really nice club that you guys got down there.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice club. It's got the classic curling club feel, you can say, with the older carpet in there. We got a fireplace, excellent four-sheet club. We have excellent ice maker. Some quality curlers have come out of there. Monica Walker for one. Corey Dropkin has come out of this club as well, to name a few.
Curlers that have definitely made a name for themselves out on the tour the last number of years, for sure.
Absolutely. I believe, I'm not 100% sure, there is another women's team on the U.S. national program going to be starting there this year, playing in the top league there as well. Believe it's a team skipped by Elizabeth Cousins. Not 100% sure.
Okay, yeah.
So there could be some more competition out there.
Oh, nice, very nice.
Alex Lecter's there as well. He was Monica Walker's double partner as well. So there's some good competition there.
Oh, good. That's great to hear. Just looking at this game here, Team Homan opening things up with that last shot. Have a pretty good setup with that angle. Both yellows could be raised into that one that's just biting the top of the button. So I think they're just sort of biding their time, trying to open things up, give themselves a little bit more room to hopefully score a deuce. We'll probably continue to see Chelsea call this guard for a little while.
It's almost like who's gonna make the first move, kind of. Who's gonna flinch here?
At some point, you could definitely see Heather just walk up and try to run this back, or at least peel it off. Looks like that is the call. At some point, they will probably make some kind of a tap, but I agree. I think it's just a hair too early, maybe another rock or two here. Fairly good result there by Emma Miskew. Yes, it does sort of take out one of her own, but keeps the angle of that yellow-red into the top four and does move things around a little bit. Still a lot of work, though, for Team Homan.
Yeah, you kind of have access to the shot rock red either way, either via the yellow or just straight up getting the red on its own.
Yeah, and with the way the ice is curling, it's definitely accessible. If I was looking at it, I'd prefer to probably play the out turn, just the tap on the red with backline weight, but the yellow into the red is also makeable.
Yeah, basically exactly what Chelsea's calling right there, actually. Just, you don't want to be careful to line this up if you're ever short.
Yeah, I'd just be a little concerned with this draw. If you ever, the one place you don't want to put it is top button. And the reason for that is I think you're going to see Heather walk up and probably play the run back again. If you put this red top button, you're sort of playing what I like to call the reverse freeze, just putting a rock in behind one of your opponents where that run back will then probably jam a couple yellows in there. This is really curling though.
I was going to say this is taken off and might go in that other spot. Don't know if you want this either.
Not bad. It curled enough that it's... The hit is still there. You could definitely get to the nose and make the red double, but did curl enough to make it a little bit trickier than normal. But again, the problem rock is the guard, so you're just going to see Heather play the run back one more time. With the way the angles are now, it's pretty tough not to at least get a couple reds moving if you make contact in the rings. You'd have to be a bit unlucky to... It is possible to just pick out your own yellow, but it would have to be a little unlucky to do that, so going to take another run at this. Tracy Fleury has transitioned to the full vice position. If you're following Team Homan last year, you would have known that Tracy was more or less calling the game and throwing vice rocks.
And there's that unfortunate.
Yeah, but it's still not bad. It's still a yellow guard. You'd be running back. You moved the yellow out to the side. It's not great, don't get me wrong, but there's still some options here for Team Homan to get in there. But just as I was saying, Tracy, Team Homan released a bit of a press release, I guess, about a month ago, announcing that Tracy would be transitioning to the full vice position full time. So she now just throws third, and Rachel will be moving back to call the game when she does return. She just had a baby, so congratulations to her, and we wish them the best of luck as she takes a little bit of a maternity leave here for probably a couple events.
Yeah, congrats to Rachel and Sean. Briggs is the boy's name.
I hear he made a little special appearance here a couple days ago at the event. She brought Briggs to the club and got to meet the team for the first time.
How exciting. I saw another social media post. I think they had Joanne Courtney was there watching with Heather Nedohin's daughter. How do you feel about Tracy moving to the full-time vice position?
I think it makes sense. I mean, when you watch that Homan team last year, of course they're a fantastic team. Four great shooters. They did a lot of winning, but sometimes you just felt like there was a little bit of gear grinding going on, that sometimes there was just that they weren't always on the same page about the strategy side of things, and you saw a lot of times sort of Rachel running down to the far end to converse with Tracy and just talk about what they wanted to do. So I think they just maybe struggled a little bit to buy into that fully. So I think it's a good transition to try it out and see what's going on, and I think it'll just make it a little bit easier for everyone to sort of buy in, get on the same page. Of course, Rachel's been in the house her entire life, so that's not going to be an issue for her. But it's really exciting. I think if everybody sort of buys in, it should spell very good things for them in the future.
Yeah, I think there's just, strategic differences from Tracy's teams in the past with the more soft weight shots, and Rachel's team historically more the strong hitters, which they still are, just more of the hitting style game. So just the softer shots didn't quite maybe jive with what Rachel was thinking. So I think it'll work out better for them now that Rachel will be back in the house. At least more for Rachel's shots in the end, which you want the skip to be more comfortable in anyway.
Totally agree with that. I just think it's going to hopefully push them to that next step. Of course, they're all great curlers. They can all make all the shots, but getting everybody on the same page and deciding how to get out of certain situations can differ from team to team, and hopefully this helps them just be that little bit cleaner. Little tough miss there on Tracy's last, though, wrecking on that guard, leaving these rocks in the rings and allowing Chelsea to toss up another.
Looked like either it picked or she kind of started or something, but it kind of seemed gone halfway down.
Yeah, and from playing on this ice the last couple weeks, I know it's very release dependent, so you have to be very careful. If you don't have that nice outward motion out of your hand, it's going to take off on you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's exactly what Chelsea was looking for. Probably didn't want to keep things a little bit more compact. She just sort of hit the edge of a top red rock and has given Heather an opportunity to get some reds moving here. There might be a triple lined up, I think.
I think the triple's there on the right, but you could also play the double off the center line and kind of sit right in front of that one as well. I'd probably opt for getting rid of more rocks, but
I think if you're
trying to score your two.
Yeah, I think your best chance at maybe trying to score two is to make that double on the center line that you were looking at. And if you could ever sit that yellow right in front of the other red, Chelsea could always just pick it out, but I think she could also just try and throw a guard on it if she wanted to be a bit more aggressive with it. So I think that's the shot if you're trying to go for two. If you're just trying to make sure that you have as much room as possible to score, then you probably just try and make the triple and you'll have a draw to the 4 foot at worst for your one. I think trying to make that double on the center line does bring the steal into play, but gives you a better chance at two. So it's really a team decision, but it looks like Heather's decided to take a crack at this triple. Hit it right on the nose. Should be pretty close, maybe a touch on the center line side.
If you can get a touch on the center line side and maybe a little roll to the center, maybe tempt some sort of hit from Team Jones and Chelsea Carey.
Big weight here coming from Heather Nedohin. It's 1, 2, and 3 moving. Doesn't quite push it enough to get them all out. Rolls the shooter a bit too far, so leaves Chelsea Carey sitting 2, but definitely way better than it was 10 seconds ago.
Absolutely, given more access to that 4 foot now.
Looking over at the men's final, we did have a blank in the first, so Botry's going to hold the hammer to the second end. Do have commentary over on that game as well, so if we ever end up boring you, I guess you could jump over there, but hopefully we keep everyone around here for both games. Should be 2 great finals to finish off the week.
Yeah, looking at some of the comments here, we have Abby from St. Stephen, New Brunswick, saying it's not a cross-country drive unless you're going from ocean to ocean. If you've driven across Ontario, it seems pretty far. Doesn't seem like it ends.
Yeah, a nice 30-hour drive for me. I'll take it, but I respect the criticism for sure.
I mean, you're going around the Great Lakes. There's some sort of water. Just don't want to slip this one too deep and maybe leave that triple.
Yeah, it looks like the sweepers like it, so should be pretty close. I think that should be. Yeah, that's
doubt
good
she
enough.
would take the triple on anyway, but yeah, That'll be good.
So always a choice here. I like where Chelsea put that because it puts in, kind of makes Heather think a little bit. Of course, always as a skip, you can always go to that draw to the forefoot. I don't think Heather's necessarily worried about not making that shot, but just with where that rock is, puts a little bit more pressure. It looks like Heather's going to decide to hit here. A bit of a tougher shot because you do have to get a little bit of a roll to sit shot, but one of those things, I think it's just reducing the risk a little bit. You're at least taking out one red rock. If you hit it on the nose and you give up a steal of one, it's not great for sure, but it's not the end of the world either.
No, still, you would, if that does happen, you still have control of the even ends, I guess, at that point. Looking at probably a board weight hit here. Something the sweepers can manage.
Sweepers on it. Definitely need to hold this. Can't roll too far. Don't want to give up a steal of two. Unfortunately, will just roll too far. So big miss in a big moment there for Heather Nedohin. Gives up a steal of two to Team Jones. Team Jones is going to take a 3-1 lead after 3 ends and move on. After we come back, we'll pick up play in the 4th end. Team Homan will try to bounce back with the hammer.
I've been raised on the farm since day one, so I was born into it. My grandfather came in here in 1905. I want to continue the farm for him and generations to come. So
I think it's a privilege that we get to be here. It's just a wonderful way of life.
You know, what job is there that you can go to work with your dad and brother, with your kids by your side? Doesn't get much better than that.
this is where the focus comes into play. Look at that.
Canada, say hello to your new champions.
Proudly pulling for this generation of Canadians and the next for over 40 years at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts.
Sure, she played there, so it's probably not like an injury or something. Maybe something else just going on this weekend. I don't know.
This one looks a little warm.
Yep, and we're back here in the 4th end of play, picking up in the women's final here at the Saville Shootout. Team Jennifer Jones skipped by the super spare Chelsea Carey versus Team Homan skipped by another super spare Heather Nedohin. A little bit of a miscue there by Heather on her last, and that last end led to a steal of two. And we were talking a bit in the breaks. I was playing in an event here last weekend at this club, and I specifically remember sheet 5 and 6, everything wanted to curl a bit more towards that middle of the club divider that you see on the left side of your screen as we look at it. So maybe just not quite as positive as she would have liked to be out of her hand, and the sweepers couldn't hold it. But with how much curl there is on this ice, definitely going to be an opportunity for Team Homan to start to claw back, but a lot of work to go. I think they were almost okay with giving up a steal of 1 if she made the nose hit, but that extra point is a big swing. So it'll be interesting to see how they try to go about bouncing back here in the 4th end before we go to the halftime break.
Yeah, that seems to put Team Jones in the driver's seat now for sure. Emily Zacharias looking to come around here, and this one's taking off as well. You almost have to have that outward motion on your interns to get it straight here, to get it to follow true line.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of finish on this ice, so you very rarely, unless the guard's really tight or you're trying to, draw around like top of the rings or something like that, you very rarely have to be that close coming around guards like that. If you get by that guard by even like a rock's width, you'll have enough finish to definitely get it in there buried. So it's really important to have that last thing you think about as you're making your delivery is just have that little bit of an outward set, help the rock sort of just track that little bit longer before it breaks.
Yeah, and that's something I'm not going to use the word average club curler, but your club curlers don't realize when you're on ice that moves as much as this does, you have to be positive in your release. Just simply letting the rock go with your turn that's not going to cut it on this kind of ice.
Yeah, and it's not big. Generally, we talk about when we're practicing this kind of stuff, we talk about just sort of finishing out to the outside edge of the broom. So you want to be sliding pretty much right up the stick, or maybe even a touch tight, and just finish it out that inch or two, about the width of a broom. But even that little bit just helps it track a couple more feet before it starts to break.
Yeah, like when I try and talk to some curlers around here in New Hampshire at the Merrimack Valley Curling Club, shout out if anybody's listening, I try to use like Caitlin Laws almost as an example. So when she finishes, she's extending her arm kind of through the handle and keeping that nice and straight for the few feet at least.
Yeah, Caitlin's a great example of that. And you see, if you ever get the opportunity, I sort of like this camera angle because you can sometimes see it just as they release, their rocks start sort of on the inside half or middle of their face, and you can see as they release, that rock will start to float out to the outside, to outside the line that they're actually sliding on. And again, that just means really all that does is keep the rock from, instead of starting to curl halfway down the sheet, it might start to curl 2/3 of the way down the sheet, and it'll eventually get to a similar place. It might only change the actual final placement of the rock by a couple inches, but lets it run that much longer, delays the break, and gives the ice reader that much easier of a job to judge that rock's motion.
Yeah, because if you don't put enough handle on it, or call it a soft release, they take off on you, and it's almost impossible to get a read on that.
But a tough miss there by Emma Miskey, who wanted to get both red rocks out of the way, but unfortunately stuffs it in there and leaves the guard in front of that frozen situation in the side of the forefoot. So great opportunity here for Team Jones. I believe the call might be to just toss up another center guard.
I believe that's what she indicated.
There's really no good way for Team Homan to work anything around the outside of those guards, so placement here doesn't have to be too precise. It's more about the line. Just get it to just get to center, plug up that hole. Don't give Heather the opportunity to get around, tap some things, move it around. This one's going to look pretty good.
Still going to make that double peel attempt, I would assume.
Yeah, I think just over curled a touch more than they would have liked. This is definitely easier than it would have been, but with that situation in the rings, you're not too worried about anything coming back. It's always going to leave some kind of red rock in there for you.
Looking at the comments here, that's Rachel Homan in the background there holding young Briggs.
Rachel, I believe, makes her home here in Edmonton now, if I recall correctly, so not too far for them to come to watch this game.
Nope, yes, I believe she does live there as well. Funny little story there quickly on baby Briggs. Saw the announcement named Briggs. My wife's name is Brigitta, and we call her Briggs. So I was like, look at that, there you go.
It's like your own personal connection.
Absolutely.
Tough there from Tracy Fleury leaving that guard in place and not really moving anything around in the rings. I would have liked to make the double peel, but if you're going to miss the double peel, I think they were hoping to at least get something, get those rocks out of the forefoot and give yourself some space. Now, real opportunity here for Chelsea to, if they could ever get another rock through that hole, get one into the forefoot. So it's going to be a lot to deal with for Tracy on her last.
Yeah, I think that shot's there. You want to be aggressive, but you don't want to be too aggressive getting in there.
Yeah, it is a little tougher than it looks, though, with how much finish there is. If you imagine the path of the rock to, say, draw to split the center line, that rock is actually probably going through that corner guard. So you'd have to tighten up the broom a little bit. Once it gets through the hole, it looks like you're probably going to be closer to almost making the freeze on that red-yellow situation. Once it gets through that hole, you're going to see a lot of finish.
Yeah, I'm not sure you could even get shot going through that hole. Not that you need to. A force is still great here.
Yeah, of course, yeah, it's one of those things where, yeah, tossing up a guard, never really a bad thing. Would give Heather the opportunity to come through the hole, but I think you just try to find the line to make sure the rock gets between those yellows. Once it's there, anywhere from the center line pretty much to the top of the rings is going to be okay. You're going to put another rock in their way, but it's more about line on this.
Yeah, and this one's diving too. Don't want to disturb that center too much. That does the job, I think, as well.
Yeah,
for now.
I think it was more just a weight issue. If that yellow one wasn't there, it's probably maybe 2/3 of the way to the ring. So if it has that extra 6 to 8 feet, it probably makes it through the hole very nicely. But still, in a great spot, has everything in the way of Heather and Team Homan here. So she's going to try to once again open this up. I think if you hit about 2/3 or half a rock of that high yellow one, and the red comes into that other yellow, it'll probably start spinning back into the rings, which would still be pretty good. Still opens it up for you, but something to think about.
I think Tracy just couldn't see that from the other end.
Other option is you probably could throw just the double peel on the red-yellow near the center line and spin your shooter out of the way. Would also open things up for you, but not quite as much. If you can ever get all three moving, that'll be really good. It would open up sort of an angle yellow tap, open up the draw to the center.
Not sure what they decided on.
We'll see where the broom comes down, but I thought it might be... It looks like they're going to play that center line peel in the middle, but I think they're actually going to play it the other way. And
I think they're going for the yellow-red still on the one side.
yeah, and the reason for that is the yellow is slightly lower than the red, so if you could ever... You're pretty much trying to hit both at the same time. If you could ever just whisker the yellow one first, your shooter might be able to sort of hit both and wiggle through down into the rings, which might be what they're looking for.
Squirt down, yep.
Gotta be pretty close to hitting them both at the same time. Just get that yellow one first. Pretty much exactly what they were hoping for. Maybe almost hit that yellow a little too thin, actually. Wanted to get a bit more of it
didn't
to
move
move
enough
that
of that red.
But I think it's huge that yellow is actually sitting shot right now. Right now, if it was Heather's last, she'd have a tap up to the button for her 2 points. So Chelsea's still got to be a little careful here. Probably, I don't think you want to nose that red, or the yellow, excuse me. I'd be a little worried about maybe leaving some kind of double on the red top 12 and the one top 4. If you ever made it right and got that yellow to drag back into that red back 8, could spell good opportunity for Heather Nedohin there. So I think you do have to be a little careful. I think Chelsea was looking at possibly rolling behind or at least half buried behind that tight red guard.
Yeah, you just don't want to leave that situation that you were talking about. I'm not sure the yellow would drag and stick, but it would still probably make the situation much more comfortable.
Just a question in the chat. The men's final is on right now, actually, on the sheet beside us. Brendan Botcher taking on Caitlin Schneider. Botcher scored 2 in the second, so he has a 2-0 lead in third. Their final got going a little bit behind us. But back on our sheet, really good shot there by Chelsea. Takes away both that sort of double/triple I was talking about, but also stuck out behind the guard enough that there's no real like tap or freeze or anything on the rocks near the button. So of course yellow's still sitting shot, so I think if you had to, you might be able to draw like the side of the button kind of thing for your 2, but makes it very difficult.
Not sure there is really any other shot. I think she might have to just accept the 1 at this point. To maybe peel on the other side.
Yeah, that would be.
Not sure where those two. The red goes into though.
Yeah, I'd be a little bit worried about that.
Could maybe just peel the yellow from the right side, and maybe with how much it swings, you could maybe draw all the way around and over and get to the button for your last.
Yeah, I think that might be there. You'd have to play it pretty close to the red guard, but it's close. Could maybe peel the red guard that's up higher on the left, and maybe that gives you enough room to throw an out-turn draw, but it's tough right now. I think right now the only shot Heather would have for 2 is to maybe throw the in-turn, and if you could ever just miss that red rock top 8 and sort of draw off the line to the side of the button, you might be able to get 2 that way, but it's tough with how much finish there is.
Just have to do the Adine spinner and try and keep it right on the rings.
Looks like right now they might be just drawing around those corner guards and putting a rock side 4. You won't be sitting 2, but I guess the thought is if Chelsea ever missed a guard or missed a freeze, you might be able to draw and maybe sort of like rub and roll off that one to the button.
Yep. He puts that there. Don't know if I see anything.
Yeah, again, it might be, it's asking a lot, but that's a rock where you might be able to just sort of whisk her off of it and keep the line straight to get to the button, but I think Chelsea's just going to toss up a guard here, and not really sure if Heather's going to have anything for two. She plugs up that hole pretty good. I don't know. There might be some sort of ricochet, maybe spin to the button somewhere, but that's what they're looking at. Just trying to go thin, maybe you get lucky.
Yeah, I would really want to make sure I still get my one. And
yeah, definitely not worth playing anything that you think there might be some risk to, for sure. Looks like they might play the... I'm always looking at hitting this red guard thin, sort of just squeaking it over the high side of that yellow and maybe angling that yellow back to the button. That's pretty tough. But yeah, I guess it might be
looks like they're going for the squeak and the not thick off there. Hit like a quarter off the yellow and roll down and hope and a prayer.
Yeah, guess we'll see here. Heather Nedohin with her last in the fourth end, trying to find a miracle here to score two.
Audible.
Oh, very close. Just need a little bit more curl. Would have had a chance at it, but yellow gets their one. So Team Homan claws back that little bit, makes it a 1-point game here. We come back in the fifth end. Jones will hold a 3-2 lead with the hammer going into the back half of this game.
The reason we trust Western Sales with our business is the people. I'm sure that there's 100 years experience coming out of that shop. We trust them because we do a CMI on our combine and on our tractor. When our equipment comes out of Western Sales, it's going to be good, because if it's not, they send us another combine, they send us another tractor. And we're not naive to the fact that that probably costs them a lot of money. So we just know that the service that we're getting at Western Sales is above par to everybody else.
Stronger agronomics, better returns, greater peace of mind from pre-seed to post-harvest. You can count on the Victory Canola program to keep you and your farm ahead of the curve. Grow with us at victorycanola.com.
Here's another look at that beautiful rock from Kyla. Setting things up really nicely. They're close to the win with that one. Now in the last end of the game, Team Clybrink has a draw to the button for the win.
What are you doing? Hold on, the guys that didn't play, I just made a call. They made me way more cash than you guys ever will.
If you want to destroy the sports books, come join the #1 sports investing community on the planet at inplaylive.com.
And we're back here, picking up play in the fifth end. Team Jones, skipped by Chelsea Carey, has a 3-2 lead with the hammer here. And we're just talking a little bit in the break. This isn't really the Team Homan that we've been used to seeing the last couple years. Just not quite as precise, maybe just a little sloppy in those first four ends. I think really looking at Tracy has had a couple bad outcomes on a couple of her shots, just a few run backs that haven't been made. I think she picked out one of their own rocks in the third end. She's very close, don't get me wrong. But
Just seems like the wrong side of the inch right now.
Yeah, exactly. So if she could just pick it up just that little bit, be that bit more precise in the second half, I think we're going to have a very good game. But overall, just not quite as precise as Team Homan has been this week. And Team Jones has just been looking par for the course, just making their shots. Nothing really too flashy, but has been getting the job done here in the final.
Yeah, just the Team Jones, just make the simple shot. Make the simple shot. It doesn't have to be a hero shot to put the pressure on.
And I think that's what a lot of people sort of forget at times is when you see these top teams, yes, they make some outstanding shots from time to time, don't get me wrong. They make them better than most other people do, but it's really the easy ones or the smaller shots, like, you know, making that freeze there or you know, always sort of hitting and rolling within a foot of where they want to be rather than, and very rarely rolling out. It's those little things that really elevate you from maybe a good team to one of these great teams. And they'll come up with a TV shot every now and then, but for the most part, that's where the difference is.
Yeah, and it's something I try to explain to people too is, yes, you're trying to make a freeze to the top four, but just think about it as you're just drawing the 8-foot. Like, don't think freeze, like you're just having a simple draw, or to make a double, you're hitting half a rock. You're not necessarily, I got to make a double. No, you're hitting just half of a rock. Just simplify things. Like, don't put so much pressure on yourself. And I think that's what these teams do very well, is they simplify everything. Don't think of the outcome necessarily.
Yeah, and I just looking at that shot there from Lauren Londentine trying to make that freeze, that little bit heavy is huge. If she had just been maybe a foot light and it comes up to nose, it's a very good shot. But that little bit of a roll off, just by being a foot heavy, gives a lot more opportunity here for Team Homan to maybe get both these reds moving, get some yellows in some good spots, and put some pressure on them. Just like that, there leaves that yellow froze into the red on the button. And didn't take it out, but you don't really need to. That's a rock that Heather should be able to keep from scoring later on in the end. So pretty good opportunity here for pretty good setup at least so far for Team Homan, but chances for Chelsea to get things moving and get herself some chances here to score.
Yeah, I think the more rocks in play right now for Heather Nedohin is a rink. Probably going to benefit them, keeping things in the back. Pretty good shot. This one's taken off as well.
Still not bad. You definitely want some guards, but with no real access to that rock top button, it's a lot to ask for from Team Homan to try and get a steal out of this end, especially if this rock's put in a good spot. Pretty good there. Could freeze one on top, but leaving red sitting two isn't exactly what you'd want to be doing coming into this end. So run back is definitely possible. It's a bit looks like they're going to run the other one back now, which I think is good. Gives you a couple more opportunities to get some good out of it, but this is sort of an all or nothing shot. If you ever peel this out and Chelsea just walks up and peels the other guard and pretty much has a two in her pocket, it's going to be a tough slog the second half of this game to come back.
Yeah, it's the shot made by, I believe it was Emily Zacharias, really put the bootstraps on Homan's team right now.
Need a big one here from Tracy, and we were talking about how she was just been on the wrong side of the inch so far this game. She can come up with a good one here, though. Could really help Team Homan's chances, but again, just that little bit tight out of her hand, and sweepers weren't able to hold it. Now, oof, Chelsea is very happy with this situation.
Yeah. Again, I'm not there, I'm not watching, but to me, just looking at the feeds and stuff, it just doesn't quite look like Tracy's that positive to the broom right now.
Yeah, it's difficult to tell if it's a release or a line of delivery issue, but definitely they've had the sweepers on it fairly frequently as the rock comes out of her hand. So yeah,
it seems like the intern's just really going on her.
Could definitely be. That's something to sort of put in the back of your pocket and try to figure out in practice before your next event. But right now, got a game to win, so whether maybe she just could use a little bit more ice as well. I don't know what the discussion will be from them, but need to figure it out if you want to continue to put the pressure on in this game.
And this is taken off on Carly as well. Could be that spot.
Could be. And when I was playing in here last week, we noticed that right around the fifth end, the speed really started to die down. Like you'd start going from the fourth end to fifth end, usually you would be about 3 feet different in the speed, and by the time you got to the end of the game, it was about 6 to 8, depending on what spots you were in. So I'm sure if the ice is still acting the same as it was then, that they would know that by now, being in their 8th game of the weekend, but sometimes you still get a little bit caught on that. So sort of giving Tracy the opportunity back now to put another rock in there.
Yeah, I didn't see. Did they do a mop or anything? Or
probably not during the fourth end break, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see, but I mean, they didn't, last weekend. Maybe they've changed that, but probably not. And that one again, just coming up that bit light and over curling and just little things that you don't normally see those kinds of misses out of this team. Now, let's not, pretend that it's not, September 11th and that it's super early in the season. We're not going to expect to see, world championship caliber throwing even from these teams out here, but this is sort of just mistakes that you don't tend to see out of teams at this level.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Is this is very early in the season for everybody. Everybody's not going to be as sharp as they normally are when you see them on the big TV games.
I believe both of these teams, it's their first event of the year, so yeah.
Oh, they are in tough. Kind of all or nothing again and run the yellow back.
Yeah, and this is sort of the game on the line here, really. No other way to get in there. If you ever miss this, Chelsea's going to draw another one in there and probably sit 5 with hammer, so got to be close here. Got to be precise.
Yeah.
Got to stick this on the one that's, as you look at the overhead, just on the left side of the button. You can ever stick it there, or even flop it back on top of the one top button. That's probably what you're looking for out of this shot. Even if you get one of them and roll out, Chelsea's still drawing to sit 4 with the hammer, so not going to be looking good.
No. Gotta try and shrinking that scoring zone as much as you can, hopefully.
Over in the men's final, it was Catelyn Schneider scoring 1 in the fourth end. So Team Botcher will have a 2-1 lead at the half with the hammer. When they come back, we do have commentary on that matchup as well. If you feel like hopping over there for a little bit, but hopefully we see you back. And exactly sort of what I was alluding to with Heather's shot there. If you don't make it, it's not good. Really, I don't think there's a hole there in between those 2 yellows near the center line, so no opportunity there for Heather. Guess there might be some kind of in-off on the rock side 12, but that could be asking a lot too.
I mean, I don't even know what to. If I'm red, where do I want to put this? I don't want to leave her anything.
No. I mean, if I'm red, I'm probably throwing the intern to the red top 8, maybe tap it back a foot into the forefoot. Yeah. Chelsea was looking at that high yellow guard. If Heather might be able to angle that through between the other 2 yellows down into the rings, but I mean, that's a tough shot. I don't know if the angle's there. If you are playing the tap, that might make that shot a little bit easier, I guess, but still I know it's Heather Nedohin, but that's asking a lot out of a skipper against 5. The in-off, I don't really think gets you much. You might be able to stick it into the side, but you're probably still giving up 2 if you make an absolute beauty of a shot. So if it was me, I think you just come down, you make the tap to the 4-foot, you sit 5 and say, well, what do you got, Heather? And if she misses, you're shaking hands, right? So the game's over. And even if she does make it, chances are you're still probably getting a 2. Like,
yeah, it's
I guess she might be
big
able
trouble.
to run the center line one back, but if you could ever get just a hair to the inside of this red, it takes that away too. Like,
that was kind of my thought. If ideal world, if I could get an inch to the inside of that red and tap that almost even with all those other ones.
Yeah, I think that's ideal. This one, maybe they were
like
just
she
throwing the
maybe
guard
taken
the
away
whole
the
way.
run back. Taking away the run back.
That would definitely work too. It needs to stop curling. I think it just over curled. I think the run back's still there.
Even with like board weight control, just throw another one in there and maybe, hopefully she only gets 2.
Yeah, I know what she was thinking. That this is really the only shot for Heather to possibly get out of it. So if you take it away, then yeah, she has nothing. But
there is maybe some options off of that guard, kind of as Emma's pointing out. You get a little bit too thick, you go off the 8-foot one and into the 4-foot ones. There's some options off of this one.
give her that. I wasn't really looking at this. You can imagine those reds in the 4-foot and the 8-foot are kind of like a little basket here. It's a lot of ways to sort of roll something in there.
Kind of like a web, yeah. Kind of what I was thinking.
And if you ever fly it by that high guard, you're probably hitting that red in the rings and rolling in that direction too. So
correct.
That might actually be the call they're going for now. Is sort of this in-off I was talking about earlier. But unless you're throwing like a missile, you're probably just rolling into the side of that one on the button. So unless you're throwing a missile, you're probably not like making the triple and sitting shot. Chelsea would probably
at this point, I think, hoping to only give up 2.
Yeah, for sure. That would definitely, coming out of this, that would be job done, I think, for Heather. But game on the line here. Miss here, and the gloves are probably coming off. Heather Nedohin. Last rock in the 5th end here in the women's final.
Might have it the other way.
Pretty good. Ends up making the in-off a little tight, gets the guard, but gets rid of one of the red rocks, sticks in the 8-foot, but just goes to show you how much trouble she was in. Still leaves a pretty makeable shot here for 3.
Quickly looking at the comments here from Sherry Blaylock, I would tend to agree. I think that maybe that her daughter's first day of school is probably something why she's not here. That was kind of my guess. I think Matt and I were talking about that in the break.
Yeah, Jen was playing, as we said, I think she played in that mixed doubles event a couple weeks ago, so I don't think it's anything like, she's injured, or I guess she could maybe be sick too, but it's probably not the case, I would imagine. But big shot here for Chelsea Carey to put Team Jones up by 4 after 5, if she can hit the 4-foot. Needs to put the brakes on. And it won't.
Slides on by.
Yeah, and that's a spot that, as I talked earlier in the end, the speed starts to come down in the second half of the game, but if you get out to a new path, it tends to run very similar. So maybe just got caught in a quick spot there, but still throws up 2 on the board, which I'm sure they're more than happy about. They're going to hold a 5-2 lead over Team Homan after 5 ends of play. When we come back, Team Homan will have the hammer and try to claw back.
I've been raised on the farm since day one, so I was born into it. My grandfather came in here in 1905. I want to continue the farm for him and generations to come. So
I think it's a privilege that we get to be here. It's just a wonderful way of life.
What job is there that you can go to work with your dad and brother, with your kids by your side? Doesn't get much better than that.
Hey, so dude, I'm just building out my parlay for Sunday. I'm all over the Bucks, and then we got the Panthers, the Bills, and the 49ers, all locks, but it only pays plus 229, so I'm thinking I might need to beef up that number just a little bit.
Why?
Hold on, the Rams are playing on Sunday Night Football. No chance they're losing.
Oh my god, dude, you said the same thing last week and you keep losing. Don't be this clown betting on NFL parlays this season. The way the Sunday schedule is set up is that you make a parlay for the early games, you miss, and you start chasing in the afternoon games, and then the night game hits and you unload your bankroll trying to play catch up. If you're interested in making smarter decisions on the NFL this season, I'm putting on some free training right now where I give away my top 5 secrets on how to profit on live sports investing.
This is where the focus comes into play. Look at that.
Canada, say hello to your new champions.
Proudly pulling for this generation of Canadians and the next for over 40 years at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts.
Mustaches in the league.
And we're back here in the 6th end of play. Looking in our women's final between Team Jennifer Jones with spare Chelsea Carey at the helm and Team Homan with spare Heather Nedohin at the helm. It is a 5-2 game for Team Jones, although Homan will have the hammer, and I mean, giving up 2 in that end, it's not good. Like when you look at it in a vacuum, being down 5-2 with only 3 ends to play, it's not good. But I think after that last end and the way it was looking, like you could give up 4 or 5 at one point. I think you'll take it if you're Heather's
absolutely.
team and looking to just hopefully move on. If you could get a 2 back here, it could feel like a whole new ball game.
Yeah, exactly what we were talking about. 2 could brings that back to 5-4. Steal 1, you can steal the win.
So great setup there by Lauren Lenentine and Emily Zacharias.
Textbook setup.
Yeah.
Excellent.
2 rocks, top 4, top 8, and you guard it. Now Emma Miskew won't get the chance to play around her corners yet. She's going to try and move things around there. Might have been a little bit of a pick there. She was sliding out. See them cleaning the ice behind her, but Gonna touch that guard over and roll over to another corner guard. So not bad, but leaves that red, I think, close enough that it's still usable for Chelsea. Just toss up another guard here, and again, Team Homan once again just chasing from the get-go. And, you know, we mentioned Tracy's struggles throughout the game, but I think you have to give credit to the front end, the young front end of this Jones team. They have just been on Team Homan from the gate pretty much every end here. I really can't think of an end where Team Homan has sort of had the setup the way they wanted to after the seconds rocks, and they've just always been chasing.
Yeah, definitely 100% credit to them.
We see another guard there by Emily Zacharias. Fairly well made.
The younger teams in curling now are really making huge strides. Even from the time when I started curling to the way it is now, it's completely different. Like, for example, the team you're on is making noise in Saskatchewan and on the tour as well.
Yeah, and you know, we've had a good start to the season. We've won an event, and you know, are hoping to make our way up. But it's a lot of work. You got to play a lot of weekends, and I think, especially when you look at this Jones team, like the three in front of Jennifer, I think gets so much out of playing with someone who's had the amount of experience that Jennifer's had, who's played the kinds of games that she has. That's something that you sort of just you feed off of for a long time, and it's quite the learning experience, and I think it makes you into a better player that much faster. And you see a lot of younger teams sort of making those moves earlier in their careers to get someone with value and experience to sort of lead them before you sort of eventually make that breakaway and make your own team. I mean, Jennifer's been, we saw the same thing when she eventually got Caitlin Laws on her team. I think Caitlin did a year or two with Kathy King out of Edmonton, and then Jennifer out of juniors, and then Jennifer made the call and brought Caitlin on, and you see the kind of player Caitlin is now. I'm sure she attributes much of that to the experience that she got.
Yeah, and on the men's side, Matt Dunstone, didn't he start with Steve Laycock's team? And then Cotter as well, I think?
Yeah, did a number of years out of... I don't remember Cotter, but he definitely, yes, did 2 or 3 years out of Saskatchewan playing for Steve Laycock, won a couple bronze medals at the Brier, if I remember correctly, and then made his own team, and he's now, you know, arguably the second or third best men's team in the country, with Gushu and Botcher being up there as well. So can never discount experience for sure.
No. Setup's looking a little better now for Homan. Still going to be chasing for a bit.
Yeah, and got one of those red rocks moving, but with the setup as good as it was from Lauren, leaves that other red top 8, and still fighting a little bit here. There really isn't any easy run back on those yellow stones over on the side, so no great way of accessing that red stone in the top of the 8-foot.
No, well, the hole's there. I was going to say, if the guard was made, I'd almost consider drawing around.
Yeah, and I think the hole is there, but it's very, very tight, so it might be worth playing, though. Like, it's one of those things where you play the hole, obviously. If you make it, it's great. If you're off by like a millimeter either way, you're probably making some kind of double peel anyways, so... Of course, it's a great time to be a sports fan, though. We got curling. I feel like it happens sooner and sooner every year. Remember, even when I was in juniors, like playing at the start of September was a bit a bit much, honestly. But now we've got events starting in August, and see if this gets through. Oh,
That's a great shot.
that was a very tight hole, but Tracy just able to squeeze her rock through it and stick right there. So now it's sort of pressure on Chelsea. This is sort of the opportunity Heather was waiting for. If Chelsea doesn't make a good one here, then can have a chance to get back in this game. But, you know, as I was talking about, curling seems to start sooner and sooner every year. We got the NFL just started this week, and of course we're in the heat of baseball and coming up to the playoffs. The Jays are in it, which I'm a big fan of, so it's a great time to be a sports fan here in Canada right now.
Absolutely, and I believe NHL training camps are going to be starting right away, so everything's going on.
I'd be lying if I said I didn't have the Jays game up on my other screen right now, just in the corner of my eye.
I am right there with you, and I have NFL pregame already on my other TV as well.
Oh, yeah.
You got Jets or Bills tonight?
Oh, it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be a very close game. I would not be surprised to see a lot of scoring, though, so I think it's going to be a bit of a slugfest back and forth. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to add a lot to that Jets team, but I just think the Bills have been good for so long that it's tough to see them not squeaking it out, but wouldn't be surprised to see this Jets team sort of reinvigorated and be able to pull one out here.
Yeah, I still think the Bills probably win. I do think the Jets are a playoff team. Just the Bills are just so good.
Back to curling, though.
Yeah.
Big miss there by Chelsea Carey, not getting by and leaving a guard. And Heather's taking a good look at this. I do think there's a split there.
Do you think that split-ish is there? It looks like it could be there.
I think it's tough. I think really it's not difficult to get that middle yellow to like just push through into the rings. I think it's tough with the angle of getting that yellow guard that's closest to the center actually, and it's going to sort of squirt sideways, and I think you have to throw a bit more weight than you're thinking. You almost have to try and throw like hack or solid hack and try to cross the face of that middle Yellowstone a bit.
I was kind of thinking of a board weight, to be honest.
Yeah, that could be good too. These rocks are very lively, so you do have to be a bit careful. But with how much curl we've been seeing towards the boards, I think if you get by that high yellow guard by an inch or two with, solid hack, board weight, that's going to be very close.
You just want to make sure that you're going to get one of them in the ring. You don't want to try this and get none of them in the rings.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the easy one, again, is the middle one. I think as long as you're sort of that, if you're just sort of hack weight, you're always going to push that one in to sit two and have pressure on Chelsea. But really a great opportunity that you don't want to let slip away.
No, I'm trying to just remember how would the drag effect slightly work on that one.
Well, if you are crossing the face a little bit, it's going to push that yellow closest to the center line a bit more horizontally, like away from the rings. But I think it should always...
just rubbed in
no. Oh, I think it was perfect. If it doesn't just whisker that guard on the way by, I think she might have had it. But unfortunately, that's the problem with that much weight. You throw the weight to try and make it. And with just that straightening out, you only hit that middle yellow, and it's enough to push it through. And again, that's sort of what we've been saying. This team has been very close just today on that, just that wrong side of the inch or the millimeter in that case.
Yeah. I always remember those curling commercials. It was the bunch of rocks sliding by stuff, and they always said, "Oh, I wish we had inches."
I think you're dating yourself, Josh. You're going back in the vault to pull that reference out.
Oh yeah.
Chelsea Carey, though, still not easy. Do you think she's just playing the tap on the guard
I
that she
think
threw on
she's
her last
playing
one?
the way it swings. You've played on this ice, obviously. She goes tight to that red. Would it not just warp right in there and maybe get a piece of the forefoot?
For
Look,
sure.
this one
For
looks
sure the
hot.
draw is there to set shot, but yeah, and this is sort of what I was talking about last end again too. The speed is definitely, Chelsea Carey is not that far off on her draws, usually ever. Um, that is not really all that much on her, I don't think. It's the ice, from what I experienced last week, would be coming down a fair bit at this point, maybe 4 or 5 feet. So I think that's what ends up happening there. The problem is that's really sort of edge of 8 in that ice is coming down. As soon as you go out further, you get some fresh pebble. It'll be very close speed to the start of the game. So I think she might have actually thrown pretty close to the right weight if it was a draw to the button, but because she had to go out so wide, it slides that much better. And now Heather Nedohin with a very makeable chance here to score 2 and get Team Homan back into the game.
Yeah, and I'm sure front end went to school on Chelsea's shot to make sure to relay that information to Heather.
Yep, they would have got some hog-to-hog times, or at least taken a walk down as the rock was going to get a good judge on it. And now it's their chance. Line's looking
Just
okay.
touch paint.
Just needs to hit paint. Hit the ocean, as we used to say, for your 2. And no problem there. Sticks it in the back of the 8-foot for her 2 points. As we said, if they got 2, it'd start feeling like a whole new ball game. So we'll see if they're able to keep that momentum going. When we come back in the 7th, it'll be a 1-point game again, with Chelsea Carey or Team Jones having the hammer.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.
The reason we trust Western Sales with our business is the people. I'm sure that there's 100 years experience coming out of that shop. We trust them because we do a CMI on our combine and on our tractor. When our equipment comes out of Western Sales, it's going to be good, because if it's not, they send us another combine, they send us another tractor. And we're not naive to the fact that that probably costs them a lot of money. So we just know that the service that we're getting at Western Sales is above par to everybody else.
Mustache, though. You'll see it.
And we're back here in the 7th end of play between Team Jennifer Jones and Team Rachel Homan. And just looking at the comments here on the game, I will say that just responding to snowy Minnesota there, it's You're absolutely right. I do think the ice is changing. I played at an event in this club last week, and we found that after the fifth end, the ice really started to come down in those draw to the button paths. So probably by the sixth end, it's almost changed about 4 or 5 feet from the start of the game. So not surprising there to see Chelsea slip a little deep there, because we found that was only really the draws to the button path. If you took a couple feet more ice, got out to some fresh stuff, the rock would really slide. It wouldn't quite grind as much. So probably just there on Chelsea's last draw, having to go out nice and wide. Path is fresh. Her sweepers were probably telling her it was about 5 feet slower, but when you get out there, it's really like start of the game speed. So we can't hear the players, whether that's actually what happened. That would be my best guess as to what happened there. But yeah, big miss either way. And Heather Nedohin doesn't wait, capitalizes, draws the 8 foot for her 2 points, and it's a whole new ball game here. When you think just 2 ends ago, Team Jones with the chance for 4 or 5 scrapes out of it, only gets two back to Homan, and really feels like the momentum's changing here a little bit.
Yeah, key shot in that end as well. Tracy Fleury making the big shot coming through the hole.
Yeah, absolutely. That one was really big. That's what really set up everything. So good to see Tracy finally be on the right side of that inch and make that one. And hopefully Homan's team is really just looking to set that up again. If they can get another good shot like that, maybe think about stealing here, but even a force, being down 2 nowadays is certainly makeable for a win.
Changing the scenario slightly a bit, still talking curling here. Do you like being down one with the hammer or down one or up one without?
When you look at the numbers, it's very close. Down one with, it depends where you look, is usually around like 40 to 45%, or up one without is about 55 to 60. But that's really when you look at across like the entire spectrum of teams. So I think it's definitely in that area where it really comes down to the team and what they prefer and what kind of shots they like to play, what position they like to be in. I've always been the person that likes to be up one without. And you sort of just play for the force and you play to go to the extra tied with. But that's just really me personally, and that's because the shots I like to call, the shots I like to play, it's really on a team by team basis what you want to do. So there's definitely been a lot of teams that I've played against or I've seen that would rather prefer to be that down one with, and that's fine. There's a lot of skips that I would love to put the rock in their hands for a shot for 2, no matter how hard it is. But yeah, it comes down to team preference, really.
Yeah, I just like getting everybody's response on that. I personally always would rather be in the lead.
I agree. I think it just gives you that extra opportunity. Yeah, you're probably going to play for the steal most times, but if you get a good setup and you get the force, you also have the chance to be in the extra with hammer. So I do think it's very it is a little bit better, but with with ice surfaces that we now have nowadays, with the shots that are being made out there, if there's something for 2, guys are going to be close. So sometimes it's difficult to know, really.
One skip comes to mind that I would never want to leave a shot for 2 is Kevin Cooey.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. It
everything.
doesn't. Yeah, and it doesn't matter what it is, right? Like you could leave him a long angle run back that is really tricky, but he's always going to be close. So that might be a guy where you don't want to give him that opportunity, and you'd rather be down one with. So could be team preference. It could also come down to who you're playing. Yeah, there's a lot of discussion that goes into that. a lot of team planning. You probably talk about it, before you even start the year, so that in those first couple events, if we're in that position, what are we going to do?
Yep. And last one, kind of on your thoughts here, it would be: do you like to play the team, or do you just like playing your game, or kind of a hybrid?
I mean, when you look at the top, I speak to the men's level because that's what I play, but it's really both genders, of course. But when you look at the top level, every team can make every shot. I think you always have to have sort of in your mind, everyone has their specialties. Rachel Homan's a very good hitter. Kevin Kui's, out-turn run back or out-turn hits are deadly. Brad Gushu can draw the pin with his eyes closed. Everybody has their preference, but they're all so good that any shot can be made. So sometimes you get in that situation where, do you make Rachel Homan draw or hit? She's probably going to make both. But she might have the preference to the hit, so maybe you try and have her draw in a situation. You're talking a few percentage points difference. They're probably going to get made either way, but so you do have to have that all in your mind. But I do think you sort of need to just focus on your own teams in 90% of the situations. Just make shots the way you need them to. Put rocks in good spots, and the better team will come out. 9 out of 10 times in that situation.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on what you're saying.
Just looking over at the men's final a little bit. They're playing the 6th end. Botcher with a 3-1 lead, but Team Schneider has the hammer, so looks like they got something maybe going here if they can make a freeze around a corner, but we'll keep an eye on that and let you guys know what's going on over there. Back here, though, a pretty
Not
good shot
looking
by Tracy
great.
Fleury.
Yeah, I was gonna say, not looking great for the Jones team here.
Well, it's tricky, right?
Kind of leaving the door open for Homan.
Yeah, as soon as I saw the situation, I sort of thought, well, play the intern freeze or maybe a little tap that yellow back and sit shot. And I don't think they're necessarily disputing that, but I think you have to be really careful about where you leave stones and what the tolerance is. If you don't bounce it back to, or if you try to throw the bounce and you end up a little bit high, then you might leave some kind of, double or triple if you aren't really precise with the angles. So I think tolerance here, if you're about a foot light, that's okay. I think you really want to try and get to the inside of nose of this yellow if you can. You don't want to leave an angle that's going to angle that yellow onto the red back 4, because I think that's where chances might start to arise for the Homan team.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to go all the way back to it. I probably want to try and be just fully on the full T-line side.
Yeah, if you could,
that's where my two.
If you could bury it top button, I think that's really good too. But
this is diving and light.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of what we've been seeing. 90% of the misses have been over curling towards that the sheet 6 side, where that thick barrier is that you see on the side of the sheet. Everything's sort of been curling a little bit more that way. And in the second half of this game, we've seen, when there are misses being made, it's light, unless you're going wide out to a really sort of fresh spot. But maybe just getting caught a little bit there now, and a big chance. Now, those reds are still lined up, so there's going to be opportunities for a run back for Team Homan. But if Heather can put her rock in a good spot here, really put the pressure on Chelsea, this is sort of what we've been talking about. Momentum's been shifting the last couple ends, and maybe you get into an opportunity where steal's a possibility, and you have a chance going into 8.
Yeah, I kind of want to see how Heather's rock reacts here. Her rocks have not been curling as much on this line as Tracy and Emma's have been. I know she threw a high weight hit and hers just floated down that line. So I'm kind of interested to see how the draw goes here for her.
I'd expect her to be close. This isn't quite out far enough where you're necessarily talking about a big difference in speed. So should be about 4 or 5 feet slower than the start of the game kind of thing. And if she's close, sweepers should be able to make the difference. But again, really make sure that last motion is out, that you get it out to the broom and give your sweepers a chance to work with it.
Looks close. Probably got to curl a bit.
And you'll see the
Maybe
finish
not.
now. That rock was like side 8 as it crossed the hog line and warps
That
in there.
is pretty good.
Very good. Right to the side of the pin. Double run back chance for Chelsea. Could probably make it, if you make it really good, could probably just be to sit 2, but likely going to leave a guard up, leave some chances for Heather. So I think you're very happy with that positioning. Would have maybe, I guess, if anything, wanted to be like a foot higher, but you'll take it.
Expect Chelsea to be very close on these. These are like her bread and butter shots.
And opens up the front. That's a positive, but really would have liked to get something moving in the forefoot.
Yeah. Now, do you want to try and get your 2 here, or do you want to make sure you steal 1?
That's tough. I mean, I think you have to throw a guard. Probably try to put it top 12 so you don't give Chelsea too much of an opportunity to, say, like, come around and make a tap or something, but
You throw it in the house, Chelsea's going to hit something. You throw a guard, you can maybe get 2. You have to play that wide out-turn draw.
yeah, I do think you need to keep it tight again. That come around tap's pretty makeable, so you need to be a little tighter. Not too far. You know, I don't think you need to necessarily come into the rings. If you leave sort of the center line side of that yellow exposed to touch, that's okay. So make sure you get it out there. Come up just short of the rings, right in front of that other yellow stone on the button. You're going to have yourself a really good situation. Might see an in-off by Chelsea, but tough.
This looks warm. Coming down now. Into
Definitely
the slide
don't want to hit
path.
8 foot.
It might be right on it.
And you know, that's okay.
Now, do you see the triple? Double
it's
for
tough.
sure.
Double for sure, yeah.
Come across the face, the 7/8, 3/4.
Yeah, you hit it 7/8 on the high side. I do think the triple's there. I think you need to be very precise. You know, throw a lot of weight, but you got to be careful. You don't want to try and overthrow it and run it by, give up the 2, or, you know, dead stuff it or something like that. You know, a steal of 1 is okay. Keep that in your mind. Steal of 1, you're in a tie game with the hammer. I think if you went up to Chelsea and said you could be tied with the hammer in the last end, she's going to take that every day before the game. So try not to think about how, like, the momentum or the situation of the match. Just make sure you make 2 of them go. Give up the steal of 1. If you happen to hit it perfect and make the triple, that's great. But, you know, take your beating and just sort of move on to the last end, you're still in a great situation. This one very tight.
This is gonna curl.
Ugh. That's exactly what I was saying. You couldn't do that. You needed to at least throw it to give up the steal one, but fortunately it just gets a little bit tight. Maybe just didn't quite finish it out there and only gets the one. It's a steal of two, and this game has flipped in the last two ends. It is now a lead for Team Rachel Homan with Heather Nedohin skipping. We'll take a short commercial break and be back in the 8th. It'll be a 6-5 game for Rachel Homan.
Stronger agronomics, better returns, greater peace of mind from pre-seed to post-harvest. You can count on the Victory Canola program to keep you and your farm ahead of the curve. Grow with us at victorycanola.com.
Do you ever miss your parlays by just one pick? How about losing your over-unders or your spreads by only a point? Well, if you're ready to ditch the gambling and go legit, it's time to join In Play Live. We're the world's #1 live sports investing platform, all built around our live video streaming. So you can wager in real time with our 7-figure professionals and take what they're taking when they're taking it. Now, the platform also includes our masterclass suite of videos that include both the strategies and philosophies to succeed. Our next rocket ship is launching off to space right now, and you're just one click away from being on your first live stream with our team of pros. So make the transformation today. Go from amateur gambler to sports value analyst. We'll see you on the moon.
This is where the focus comes into play. Look at that.
Canada, say hello to your new champions.
Proudly pulling for this generation of Canadians and the next for over 40 years at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts.
That's good.
And we pick up play here again in the 8th end, and Josh, there's really no words to describe it. This is, Team Homan looked to be out. I mean, in the 5th end, I would have just looking at them in the situation that they were in. They were one half shot away from shaking hands, but all credit to them. They've clawed back, got themselves into some good situations, and Chelsea Carey and Team Jones just haven't been able to answer these last couple ends.
I definitely would not have picked us playing the 8th end here, basing off that 5th and the little bit of struggles that Team Homan had in the first half of the game.
Yeah, but either way, this is, exactly the situation we were talking about. You're up one without or down one with, and, we'll see how much these teams like that. I think, you know what, I will say I really like Team Homan's chances here, regardless of what situation they like to be in. I just think, the momentum of the game, and when it can be really tough when you're in a game like this where, just half an hour ago, pretty much you had the game in the bag. They're professionals. They have had great sports psych training, so I'm sure it's not really going to affect them all that much, but it can be really tough when, you, by all accounts, should have shaken hands 2-3 ends ago, and now you're in a position where, you're behind the 8 ball. Kind of playing this 8th end can be really tough for your Team Jones.
Yeah, and going on Jones's side here, going with that sports psych training, arguably a miss on Heather's shot in the 5th end, because she was playing the back hit and roll in and ended up clipping the top one and rolling into the pile. So that's something, that as a player myself, team doesn't make the shot they're calling and it turns out better.
Yep.
That definitely plays a part in it too. But, power to Team Homan here. They've really stuck to it. And, this is, I think I agree with you here. I kind of give Homan the edge on this. I think experience is going to prevail on this.
That being said, though, you still got to throw the rock. So I think it should be an exciting finish either way. And we're in for a treat here. Looking at this situation, though, again, gotta like Team Homan's chances. Only guard in play is a center guard. A couple of miscues by, Lauren Lenentine and Emily Zacharias so far. Leaves a double opportunity. Of course, if Emma Miscue makes this, you're going to see Team Jones try to utilize that center guard to hopefully get 2 that way. But with both Red Rocks now gone, they've got a long way to go to try and get their deuce.
Yeah, it's going to take some work to get the deuce, that's for sure. But, making sure that they'll always have a chance to score their 1 as well.
Emily Zacharias being asked to make a precise hit and roll here. Please stick around in the rings and force Team Homan to play it. And that's just something that you can't do in that situation. You have to at least keep it in the rings and force Heather's team to make a play at it and, not give them this free opportunity. Those small mistakes like rolling out there gives them the chance to draw around. And now if you're Chelsea Carey, you're not even thinking about winning the game in this situation. You're trying to figure out how not to lose. How are you going to have your shot for 1 to go to the extra?
What do you think they're discussing here?
It's tough. On one hand, if you're Team Homan, this is such a great situation. You have a guard up. You could draw to the top of the button. I don't think there's anything wrong with that call. On the flip side of that guard is really Chelsea's only way to try and score a deuce. So you could, I don't think there's anything wrong with maybe walking up and peeling it. And then, you're basically...
My thought actually kind of went that way.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking, but you could play the draw. There's nothing wrong with that. If you peel the guard, you're really saying, okay, Chelsea, you can have your 1. We'll have hammer in the extra, and probably, you have 80% chance of winning with hammer in the extra, essentially, or somewhere around there. So you could play it that way, or you could decide you're in such a great position to try and win it here. But again, if you try to win it here and you don't execute perfectly, you may give Team Jones the opportunity to get back in it or try and set up a 2. So I don't necessarily think either shot call is wrong. You just want it to be an informed decision, and I think they just wanted to have a little talk as a team and with their coach before they decided what to do.
I think maybe a style difference here. I think in the men's game, I think they peel that right away.
I think so. I think it depends. It depends who you're playing. I mean, it's getting late in the end too, so I think in either way, like the draw is certainly a call. I think if this was like seconds first or even seconds last rock, then yeah, you probably peel. But it's late enough in the end that you can really decide to go either way, and I don't think it's necessarily wrong. But again, it's all about execution. You can call any shot you want. If you don't make it, then your strategy doesn't matter. Now here, that's a pretty good shot. Very good.
Absolutely.
Very good shot made there by Tracy. Keeps it above the tee line and really says to Chelsea Carey, you're the one that has to do the work here to try and set up a 2.
Yeah, it's a great shot. Really making them feel the heat, that's for sure. Looks wide.
We see the first shot here by Carly Burgess. Think it needs to put on the brakes a bit too. Well,
got into that slide path and just hit the brakes.
Yeah, I think if that's again, that's what we're talking about. If that's the start of the game, that probably slips back 12. But just hit that sort of flat spot and stopped. Now they're shot rock, but again, just that's not really a great spot. If Tracy can make a freeze down, now again, the question isn't about scoring 2. The question is about scoring for Team Jones. So. Put this in a great spot. Could be a game ender right here for Tracy Fleury.
Pretty good shot. Although that does leave that. Might even be quad,
Yeah,
not really.
Well, I mean, yeah, you
It's
don't
a
need to make
catcher
the
over
quad.
there. It's a catcher.
It is a
there.
catcher.
It's
yeah.
a catcher.
I mean, to make the triple, you're probably just hitting 7/8, so probably don't need it. But again, yes, if you hit it just a little bit thin, gotta be. I mean, if you hit it too thin, you might just go yellow into the red, which wouldn't be great. But a big chance here now, yeah, to flip the script.
Over.
Oh, an excellent shot.
Excellent shot
by Carly Burgess to make the triple and sit 2. And now, yeah, now you're worried again. And this is what I mean. Like, if you go back again to by playing the draw on Tracy's first, you always leave this sort of chance for something to happen, for something to flip back. Now, again, it's execution, right? If Tracy's rock had been a foot further on her second one, we're not talking about this. But it's just those little execution things. You leave an opportunity, and one made shot by Carly Burgess now has them a chance. And now, if you're Heather Nedohin, now you're making this draw to hopefully save the game.
Yep, now you're playing the shot not to lose.
Exactly. And again, don't get me wrong, these teams are very good, but when you're playing that draw on Tracy's first, you're never imagining that this will end up happening. But crazy things happen when you leave opportunities for the other team. every now and then that 1 out of 10 times is going to happen, right? So big chance here. Heather Nedohin needs to lock this on. Sweepers seem to like the weight.
This is going to over curl.
Just a
Nope,
touch.
pretty good. Pretty
But
good.
yeah, good enough.
I think that's might do the job. Still going to need another good shot by Heather after this.
It does. You're definitely right. It did over curl a touch. I think if you're Chelsea Carey, you're going to try and follow that down with just like back eight weight. Stay sort of half or 2/3 on the yellow and just try to push that red back a bit, unlock it, give yourself an angle where you have a tap to win the game on your last. But a great shot either way by Heather Nedohin to sort of save this game once again. This has been a spectacle, folks. I mean, the last couple shots this is what you pay to see. So big shot here. This game could go either way, and it's hinging on every single shot down the stretch here. If she makes a good one, puts the pressure right back on Heather. If not, could be in a lot of trouble. Oh. A bit surprised. It looked like they kind of stopped sweeping halfway down and then just sort of whiskered that guard. I didn't think you needed to quite play it that close, but weight was what they wanted. Fortunately, just comes up and touches the guard, and now Heather, if a little hit and a flop here, and it could be game over.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, Tracy. You got to be careful rolling in. Yes, you have to be careful rolling out, but could you play for we'll say the tie and hit and roll away, roll out even?
Could. Either way, you're worried about leaving some kind of like an in-off double, or if you try to hit and... So to make it clear, like if you hit and roll onto the nose of that yellow, it's game over. Handshakes,
correct.
You're pretty much done. What you're worried about is if you only sort of hit and roll to the side of the yellow, you might leave a double. If you sort of nose or just roll out like a half a rock, then you probably leave an in-off double to lose. So absolutely, you could throw peel, just hit a half rock, roll out, and then Chelsea never really has a shot to win unless she's going to go play the in-off that wide yellow. So you just have to be careful with where you're leaving this rock, and you have to decide if the risk of winning the game now is worth possibly giving her a shot to win. I'm kind of with you. I like hitting 2/3 half a rock with peel, just roll out, and if Chelsea makes the draw for one, then you're going to the extra with hammer, which we've said a couple times this game is exactly what you ever want, right?
Yeah, and the way it's been warping to the middle, who knows what could happen.
Yeah, absolutely right. That draw isn't easy either for Chelsea. We just saw her wreck on the guard. Like, yeah, you have a little bit of backing, so it's not difficult, but this is definitely curling up, and
it has left that shot.
Yeah, exactly what we were talking about. If you just end up rolling a rock, it's danger bay, and
a rock either way was bad. Even nose would have been good.
Nose would have been tough. It would have been a very thin double. Yeah. Yeah, this is pretty much, this is a half rock or maybe thick half, 2/3 in off. You don't, especially from a hitter with the abilities of Chelsea Carey and what she's done in her career, this is a shot that is made a lot of times for her. So We'll see if she's able to capitalize here now with the chance to, after letting this game slip away, now the opportunity to claw it right back and win the championship. Chelsea Carey for Team Jones with her last rock here in the 8th end and the chance to put her name on the title. Sweepers are on it the whole way. Looks very close.
And we have free curling.
Oh, so close. Just over curled too much. Didn't quite have enough action to push it out. And there's a bit of a discussion now. I don't know if everyone looked, but
they're
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.
Sometimes curling just isn't as fun as it can be on the Nintendo Switch. With up to 4 players per console, you can enjoy curling with your friends and family anywhere, anytime. Let's play curling. Available now only on Nintendo Switch.
I've never played in the US.
Free curling. Here we go.
Yeah, we're back. Extra end here. Chelsea Carey with the opportunity to win the game, but just hit it a little bit thick and didn't have enough action to push it out of the forefoot. So here we go, and Heather Nedohin will have the hammer now with her opportunity in the 9th end.
I think we're going to see a lot of rocks in play in this end. Just got that feeling.
Yeah, they are playing with the no-tick rule. So that red rock on the center line can't be moved. So yeah, I think we'll see a couple more rocks than maybe you're used to in the past couple of years, but still, even with the no-tick rule, you know, we don't see a huge change in the percentages. I mean, things like you're normally seeing, rather than, you know, a draw to the paint to win the game or a draw to the 8-foot, you're maybe forcing teams to draw to the 4-foot instead, which is a difference. But with how good these teams are, we haven't really seen a significant change after that rule. But again, you see a couple more rocks in play, and you never know. Those extra, you know, 5-10% chance of winning or whatever it is can make a big difference over a long time, and never know when it'll happen.
So are you in favor of the 5-rock rule now with the no-tick, or dating myself again, you like the 4-rock rule?
I'm very much personally, I will say I'm very much of a purist myself. So, when I look at things like, the format changing for the Brier and the Scotties and things like that, like there's always changes. It seems like there's been a lot of changes in the last 10 decades or last decade or so, 10 years or so. And I'm not always a big fan of it. I do think Five Rock, as I played it more, I got a bit more used to it. I did kind of like it. I don't know, as a player myself and as a bit of a purist, I'm not necessarily a fan of the no tick rule. I understand why it's in play, and it makes for a better product, puts a few more rocks in play, makes things more interesting. But I think just from a player's perspective, and I've never really been a fan of taking a shot out of the arsenal of a team. But again, it's sort of still new. It's too early to come to a real decision on what kind of an effect it'll have on you know percentages of wins or losses, or whether it makes for a better TV product or not. I think we still need about a season or two to really make those determinations. So I'm sure the powers that be and people more informed than I are going to make that uh, decision at some point. And the way it's looking right now, I think it's here to stay. So whether you like it or not, I think you gotta believe in
Yeah.
it, gotta get used to it, and get better.
That's kind of how I feel with like the changes to the national tournaments now, like the Brier and the Scotties. I'm again more of a purist. I like the one from each province or territory, and then Team Canada. I understand why they do it. They want to have the best possible representative at Worlds, so like I get it. But I still like the old way where everybody played everybody in the at the Brier and the Scotties. None of the pools, each pool, and then crossovers. If you know what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. And that's sort of what I'm saying. Like, I'm very much a purist. I'm a fan of playing a full round robin at a national championship, like that kind of thing. Now, there's so many teams now. I understand why the decisions are made and why that's not possible anymore. But you gotta adapt, and whatever rules you're told you're playing by, you gotta figure it out, and you gotta figure out your best chance to win. But yeah.
Yeah, and curling Canada, I'm sure wanting to be more competitive on the world stage as opposed to the last however many years where sometimes the podium just hasn't been where we've been finishing and what we're accustomed to. Nice shot with an unfortunate roll. Still pretty good result.
Yeah, a bit of a maybe not quite the role they wanted to, leaves it frozen, but there are now no guards in play, everything's wide open. Chelsea might decide to eventually hit that frozen combination, but then, you got to draw to the 8-foot or draw to the 4-foot to win, which is really, as a skip, that's all you could ever ask for. So you're very happy if you're Heather. Chelsea's gonna have to throw up probably at least two more guards, maybe three. And then eventually she'll have to try and put a rock in a good spot to make Heather's life difficult. But you're happy if you're Team Homan. Looking over at the men's final, they are in the 8th end, down to I think Vice's rocks. Vice's last. Botcher with a 4-2 lead. Team Schneider with the hammer, and they have a yellow in play and throwing, so definitely a chance here to maybe get 2 going, but with Botcher's hitting ability, it's gonna be tough. So should make for a very good finish over there, but stick around here. We're gonna have a good finish in this one too.
Nice peel by Tracy. Well, Matt, we now have all the screens going. The men's final, the women's final, the Blue Jays game, and Monday Night Football.
There's no better time. No better thing to be happening right now. I got the Jays on in the corner of my screen. Yeah. I just saw in the men's final, Team Schneider just unfortunately picked their own rock out. So 2 rocks to come with the hammer, but nothing in play. It's going to be tough. Botcher has one hand on the title right now.
That is a scary team.
Very
Botcher team.
Very good team. I think, when push comes to shove, I think they'd be a little disappointed with how things turned out last season. Of course, I believe they won a slam, maybe 2, but I think, just coming up short, 3rd place at the Brier is not really what they were looking for. Credit where it's due. Gushu and Dunstone are very tough teams to beat, but I think they're going to have a bit more of a fire this year to,
absolutely,
try to climb up that 1 or 2 steps, hopefully get on top of the podium and beat Team Canada again.
Not unless your team has something to say about it, right?
Well, let's calm things down a bit here. I'm not. Of course, that would be outstanding, but I'm a bit more of a realist, Josh.
Yeah. We all can wish. We all can have dreams.
And not much really going on in this women's final yet. We knew this was going to happen. They were going to continue to throw up a couple guards. Team Homan has continued to make the peels. Now I think it's decision time. If you're Chelsea Carey, do you try to... I think there's really 2 ways to go about it. You try to toss up 1 more guard. They're going to peel, and then you make a hit on that red-yellow combination and hopefully make Heather draw. Or it looks like the other thing they're thinking of is you go around the yellow. Tough to imagine what Heather's going to do. She's probably going to chase you, maybe with a hack waiter. Try to get it out and roll into the 4-foot and make Chelsea play it. But if that ever doesn't happen, then you have a bit more wiggle room. You can maybe hit and roll somewhere, try to choke off some of the rings and get something out of it.
Yeah, I'm just I'm trying to think what this does gain. I get their thinking.
I'm with you. Like, it's an extra end. It doesn't matter if you're sitting 2 or 3 or...
Yeah.
Like, if you go around this...
maybe be a back 12 shot maybe on that red-yellow combination and kind of push the yellow maybe back 4, and then maybe you get a freeze at the end or something?
Could be. Yeah, that could definitely work. I think that might be the best way to go about it. You're going around the corner, but you're really not, like, choking off any more of the rings is the issue. So...
Yes.
But it might just be an extra rock again where you have some wiggle room to hit that red-yellow, and, it might give you a couple more places to roll to cut down Heather, I guess, might be the thinking. But still a pretty good shot by Chelsea to sit 2-3, and now it's going to be up to Heather to decide what she wants to do.
be second shot or first shot here. Force her to deal with it.
And we do have handshakes in the men's final. A run back by Brendan Botcher removes Caitlin Schneider's chance for two, and they shake hands. So Brendan Botcher is your Saville Shootout men's champion. For anyone that's just jumping over here from that game, we are in an extra end here in the women's final. Back and forth games. Had a steal of two at one point. Chelsea Carey was about an inch off from scoring two to win the game in the eighth end. And so here we move on to the extra. Rachel Homan's team, skipped by Heather Nedohin, has the hammer. This is Heather's first rock now coming down.
A little warm.
A bit too much weight by Heather. Slips through the rings. Something to keep an eye on. She'll likely have to make a draw with her last, so...
Playing that hit and roll now. Heather not sticking around, at least to count third, leaves a little more opportunity to roll towards the center line.
Yeah, I think it just gives Chelsea the chance to, you don't have to hit this on the nose. You can hit it just a shade on the center line side, maybe roll an extra rock or two. You don't want to roll in to give Heather an open hit, but at least maybe puts another rock in the way of the draw. Heather has to be that much more precise with where she's drawing or a hit and roll. This one really curling, though. You're going to see a big roll.
Actually, hit and roll into the catcher, and you're good.
Yeah.
Even.
And that's just what I was talking about. Just rolled a little bit too far. Now Heather has a rock over on the side as a catcher, so she has a lot more wiggle room to work with. Pretty much anywhere on the nose or outside of that rock is going to win you it.
Yeah. Either way, win or lose, this is still a great battle between the two super spares, Heather Nedohin and Chelsea Carey.
So final rock here in the extra to win the championship. Heather Nedohin skipping duties for Rachel Homan while Rachel is away with her new child. And no issues. Hits it on the nose, sticks around in the forefoot. Count one for Team Homan and a comeback win. And just a couple thoughts before we close things out, Josh. I mean, again, this game was all Chelsea Carey, all Team Jones at the break, and especially going into that fifth end. Just an incredible resolve by Team Homan to claw and claw and claw and eventually give themselves chances and come back in this game.
Yeah, wow. Incredible shot by Heather in the fifth end to even just limit them to two. And then the following end, Tracy was struggling a bit with some of her hits, and to come through and make that hole, make that hit, which would lead to the eventual two, really swung the momentum into Team Homan's favor. So congratulations again to Team Homan, skipped by Heather Nedohin this week.
Yeah, congratulations to Team Homan. That does it for us here at the Saville Shootout from Edmonton. On behalf of Curling Stadium and Curling Zone, we thank you for joining us and hope to see you tuning in the rest of the year at all of our other events. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Matt.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.